There is a pattern controlling your financial life, and most people never notice it. It does not look dangerous. It feels normal, almost invisible. But this pattern repeats every time money enters your life, and over time. It decides whether you move forward or stay exactly where you are. You work, you earn, you try to improve your situation, but somehow nothing changes. Money comes in and disappears again. It feels like you are making progress, but your position stays the same. This is not random. It is the result of a pattern you repeat every day. Most people believe the problem is income. They think if they earned more, everything would change. But higher income often leads to the same outcome. More money comes in, more money goes out, and nothing is built. This means the real problem is not how much you earn. It is what you do, specifically, what you do in the moment money arrives. That moment is small, but it controls everything that follows. The hidden pattern begins with reaction. You receive money and immediately think about spending, bills, needs, small rewards. It feels logical, it feels responsible, but it leaves no space for growth. And when growth has no space, your situation never changes. No matter how hard you try. This pattern continues because it feels safe. Spending solves immediate problems. It gives you a sense of control in the moment. But this control is temporary, and while you feel stable now, you are solely removing your ability to build anything for the future. Most people never question this behavior. They believe they are doing the right thing, paying bills, covering needs, maintaining their lifestyle. And while these actions are necessary, the order in which they happen is what creates the problem. The rule behind the pattern is simple. Whatever comes first grows. Whatever comes last disappears. If spending comes first, spending grows. If growth comes last, it never begins. This is why your money never builds, because your system is designed to use it before it can stay. And a system like that will always keep you in the same place. To break this pattern, you must interrupt it. Not with a big decision, but with a small pause. When money enters your life, you stop. You do nothing for a moment. That pause creates awareness. And awareness is the first step toward control and change. Once awareness appears, your perspective begins to change. Money no longer feels like something that must be used immediately. It becomes something you can direct. And direction is what creates difference over time, even if it feels small in the beginning. The next step is simple, but powerful. Before you spend anything, a portion must be removed and protected. Not after expenses, not if something is left, but first. This is how you begin to break the pattern at its source. At first, this feels uncomfortable. It feels like restriction, but in reality, it is structure. And structure is what allows growth to exist. Without it, everything remains temporary and unstable. This protected portion becomes the base of your future. It is not meant to stay still. It must be directed, because direction is what turns money into something that can expand instead of disappear. Consistency is what makes this work. Not one action, not occasional effort, but repetition. The same decision every time money enters your life. And when repetition becomes stable, the pattern begins to change in your favor. As you repeat this new pattern, your system begins to shift. What once felt automatic starts to feel intentional. You are no longer reacting, you are deciding. And that difference changes everything, because decisions create direction. And direction creates results over time. Your money now begins to behave differently. It no longer disappears immediately. It follows a path you created. Even small amounts begin to stay, and when they stay, they begin to build. This is the first real sign that the pattern is changing. Most people never reach this stage because they expect fast results. They want visible change immediately, and when they do not see it, they stop. But stopping returns them to the old pattern again. The real advantage comes from continuing when nothing feels exciting, when progress is quiet, when results are not obvious, when it feels slow. This is when the system is working the most. At this stage, your focus begins to change. You stop chasing quick results. You start focusing on long-term direction. This removes pressure and allows the system to grow without interruption. Now your financial life has structure. Money enters, a portion is protected, and that portion is directed toward growth. This flow repeats consistently and builds strength over time. As this structure continues, your confidence becomes grounded in real progress. You are no longer hoping for change. You can see your system working step by step. This clarity removes doubt and replaces it with control. And control makes it easier to continue without hesitation, your behavior begins to shift naturally. You stop spending without thinking and start choosing with intention. This change does not feel forced. It feels like awareness. And this awareness reduces unnecessary loss while strengthening your ability to build over time. Compounding becomes more visible. Growth starts building on previous growth. What once felt slow begins to accelerate. And this acceleration is not luck. It is the result of consistency applied over time without interruption. Most people never reach this stage because they interrupt the process. They chase quick results, react to no's, and lose focus. Every interruption resets momentum, and without momentum, growth never becomes powerful. You avoid this by staying focused on direction, not on speed, not on comparison, but on consistency. Because consistency always wins over time, even when it feels slow in the moment. Your system now works with less effort. What once required discipline becomes automatic. And when behavior becomes automatic, progress continues without resistance. At this point, your progress becomes visible in a way that feels real, not dramatic, but steady and undeniable. Your money is no longer disappearing without direction. It is staying and growing. And this confirms that your system is working exactly as intended over time. This creates a new level of confidence, not based on hope, but on evidence. You trust your actions because you have seen their results, and this trust allows you to continue even when progress feels slow or uncertain. Your identity begins to change. You are no longer someone who struggles with money. You become someone who builds it, and this identity shapes your decisions without effort, aligning your behavior with long-term growth automatically. Opportunities begin to look different. You are not asking what you can spend. You are asking what can grow. This shift opens paths that were always there, but invisible before your mindset changed. Others may not understand this shift. They continue reacting, spending, and repeating the same patterns. Their behavior may pressure you to return to old habits, and this is where many people fall back. But if you stay consistent, your results will separate you over time. Not instantly, but clearly, and that clarity reinforces the system you have built. At this stage, the difference becomes impossible to ignore. While others continue repeating the same patterns without progress, you are building something that grows over time. Your system works quietly, but consistently, and each decision you make strengthens the next one instead of resetting everything again. You also begin to feel less pressure around money, not because you stopped working, but because your progress is no longer tied only to your effort. Your money contributes. Your system supports you. And this removes the constant urgency that once controlled your decisions. Time now works in your favor. Instead of watching it pass without change, you use it to multiply your results. Every step forward adds to the last one. Every decision builds momentum, and over time, this accumulation creates something strong and stable. Momentum carries you forward. You no longer need to push as hard as before. The system moves with you. And this is where change becomes permanent, because it is supported by structure instead of effort alone. Then you realize something important. The pattern that kept you stuck was never complex. It was simple, repeated, and invisible. And once you saw it clearly, everything began to change. You stopped reacting and started directing. And that single shift created a completely different outcome over time. Most people will never recognize this pattern. They will keep searching for better income, better timing, better opportunities, that they will ignore the simple behavior that controls everything. And because they ignore it, they stay stuck in the same cycle no matter how hard they try. You chose a different path. You focused on what happens every time money enters your life. You understood that repetition creates direction, and direction creates results. This gave you control over your financial future. From here, your progress becomes predictable. Not because you control every outcome, but because your system is stable. It does not depend on luck or perfect timing. It depends on consistency, and consistency creates results over time. There will still be moments when progress feels slow, moments when nothing seems to change. But those moments do not stop you anymore, because you understand that growth builds quietly before it becomes visible. Looking back, the change feels simple. Just one shift in behavior, but that shift created a completely different path. A path where money grows instead of disappearing without direction. This is the truth most people ignore. You do not stay stuck because of what you lack. You stay stuck because of what you repeat. Change the pattern, and you change everything that follows. As you continue forward, the system becomes part of your identity. You no longer think about whether to follow it. You simply do. And when behavior becomes automatic, progress becomes constant. This is where growth stabilizes and begins to support itself over time. Now your financial life no longer depends on chance. It follows structure, and structure creates results you can rely on. You are no longer guessing, hoping, or reacting. You are building something that continues even when you are not thinking about it. This is where true change becomes permanent. Not because you forced it, but because you replaced an old pattern with a new one. And once the new pattern is stable, the old one loses its power completely. The hidden pattern that kept you stuck is no longer controlling you. You see it, you understand it, and you have replaced it. And that is what separates you from those who continue repeating the same cycle. Looking back, everything becomes clear. The problem was never outside of you. It was always in what you repeated. And once you changed that, everything else began to change with it. This is the final truth. Your financial life follows patterns, not intentions. Change the pattern, and you change the outcome. And once you do that, progress becomes something that continues without stopping.